Hi, and welcome to the Changing Perspectives podcast, the show where we discuss a variety of topics including grief, parenting, health and wellness, and relationships. Join us and explore a number of changing perspectives. We're your hosts, Jenni and Josh Brennan. Hi, Jenni.
Hi there.
What, you have a really big smirk on your face.
Because I am sitting next to, there's a rare sighting in the studio today.
Rare sighting.
A rare sighting of teenage child.
You still have an animal next to you.
I do have an animal next to me. Yeah. Yes. I have two animals next to me. One of them is our teenage son. So all four of the human members of our family are recording this podcast together. Yeah, at least that's our goal. We'll see.
First time ever in Changing Perspectives history.
Yes. But I think if it's going to stay this way, we need to just jump right in so we don't lose anybody.
All right. So this is episode 11, and we are bringing back another death in media sort of episode. It's sort of like our death in Disney movies.
Exactly. But we thought it would be good to do death in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because today, when this podcast drops is the official kind of release date for Avengers Endgame, which I was told I had to go to today. And I was told
Are you going to fake I'm not really a fan?
Oh, no, I'm a fan. But you all wanted me to go.
You're about to say you're being dragged.
Because you all wanted me to go to the midnight showing tonight, and I am too old for that nonsense. Right. And also, I would have much rather preferred waiting until the weekend and not going when it's super crowded, but I'm being dragged to a crowded
It comes
theater.
Out on tomorrow,
but a lot of places are showing it tonight.
Exactly. Yes. That's when you can get your tickets.
So we
have our tickets already.
We do. So we thought it would be apropos to have this episode drop today. So we do have a 13-year-old in our presence. Do you want to say hello?
No.
Okay. That is our oldest.
That's Jackson.
And our 10-year-old is back with us after rave reviews for his participation in the Death in Disney
well, you get to hear Jacob at the end of every Changing Perspectives episode, as he is the associate producer and does the credits. And Jacob is here as well. So say hi, Jacob.
Hi.
All right. Do you understand how that works, Jackson? When someone says say hi, you say hi.
He has like the funeral giggles over here.
Right,
okay.
Right, he does.
All right, but I'm glad he's here because him and I came up. So the format is, the format that I said, and it sounds like Josh and Jacob did their own thing as they do, was to do similar to what we did with Disney and come up with sort of 10 of your most profound losses or death experiences in the MCU.
Right.
So Jackson and I came up with a list together. However, he was the scribe. And so I'm really, really glad he's here because some of them I can't read. Uh-oh. And also some of them were mine. And so I can speak about them and some of them were his. And so the first 5 are mine. And ours are not necessarily in any particular order.
Okay, well, let's give a little bit of background because we talked about this in our Disney episode about how big of a fan we are collectively of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel movies, superhero movies. You married a nerd, right?
Yes, I did.
Pretty much. We made nerds, right? I don't think Jackson likes that term. That's a good term though. It means you love this genre, right? You're a fan of superhero movies. We love the MCU. We've been fans since the beginning. And this is really exciting to be able to talk about it and tie in the topic of death and loss and grief in the MCU.
Yes.
Right.
Full disclosure. I forget things relating to movies very, very easily. So even though the three of you made me watch all of the MCU movies in order, so before I watched
Infinity War,
but because I didn't see Black Panther with you guys in the theater.
Yes,
so I had to watch it on rental, and I couldn't watch that until I watched all of the other ones again. So even though I literally have seen all of them again within the past 4 months, I forget a lot of the details there. So I'm probably not going to be very content heavy today as a contributing member, but I will talk about the the impacts here. Or maybe I'll surprise myself and I will remember some things. But that's
I
just my little
will.
disclosure. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to do what we did for Disney, where you share like one of yours and then we share one of ours and see if we match up at all?
Yes, I think that sounds like a good plan. So, I have what did I wanted to say? I made a point. Jacob, do you know what I was trying to say?
You didn't write a 5-paragraph essay?
No, I did.
No, we did.
We did.
Ours are on order?
What's that?
Ours are on order?
No, we have them in order. Yeah, 10 to 1. Starting at 10, going down to ending with the one that is most impactful, the most powerful.
Okay.
Right.
Can we just do that?
Or did you?
No, I already said we didn't, but you clearly weren't listening.
I was listening.
That's why I was saying that we did ours in order.
Yes, because Jacob was listening.
Right. Okay. Well, do you guys want to start then?
Yeah, so I'll start. So as I had said before, in case there's anyone out there not listening, like Josh, who's sitting here not listening.
Okay.
The first 5 are sort of mine, and then the next 5 are sort of Jackson's. But I actually think the last 2 on your list are probably the biggest. So we can go in order. So the first one that came to my mind was Drax. And so not all of these are actual deaths of characters that we see. In fact, my 5 are deaths, how a significant death and then the grief reaction sort of propels the story forward for a character in the MCU film. So Drax was the first one I could think of. And here's where I don't really know details. Isn't his family dead?
Yes.
Thanos killed his family. Are you laughing at me? Oh, he's laughing at you for something. I don't know why he's laughing at you. He's a teenager. If you listen to our Aliens podcast, we are amidst aliens right now.
Yeah, we are. It's scary.
So Thanos killed Drax's whole family, right? And isn't that why we see Drax doing what he does during most of the MCU? He's like propelled to find Thanos and seek revenge because he's lost everything that was important to him.
That's his story arc.
Yes.
Right.
That's actually the story arc for a lot of MCU characters.
Right, exactly. So are you talking about Drax's family? Is that your loss?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay. You said Drax.
Yes, sorry. And then I clarified because you're reading something and you're not paying attention to me.
Well, I just wanted to make sure I recapture because we asked some listeners to give us their thoughts about their most impactful Marvel. I just want to make sure I saw.
Okay. All right.
Everybody.
Okay.
I'm preparing.
You're preparing.
Yeah.
During.
So Drax's family.
Yes, that was our first.
That's a good one.
Did you have anything you wanted to add about that, Jackson?
No.
Okay. That's probably going to be the answer most of the time. But it means a lot to us that you're sitting here with us.
I love Drax. The whole. I mean,
and also he's eating gluten-free chocolate chip waffles, which smell amazing.
They do smell great. Yeah. I love Drax. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. The whole story. I love the character development with Drax. I think he gets funnier in every movie, right?
Yeah.
Well, he does, and he has an ability to connect. I think for me, every time we see him, he's able to connect more and more with people.
Yeah.
Whereas when we first see him, he seemed very resistant and reluctant to make connections. You know, he was very much sort of stuck in like, I've lost my people. There's no point really to living. I just have to seek justice, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And then we see him really start to explore and build a new life. Still grieve, and want sort of retribution, but actually be able to make some new connections. So he was the first one I thought of. That's
a good one. And he has basically found himself a new family, actually.
Yes. Not a replacement family.
But he's expanded. He's now part of a new family unit that he loves very much. And you see that. Now, I'm going to out myself as not very familiar with source material. Love the comics. I love the art of the comics and way all these characters look in the original source material, but I'm not familiar with source material. Now, Drax. Does
that mean like the original comic book?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
I am.
Jacob
What did you say, Jacob?
I am.
You are. You're more than me. Yeah, you know, I go to you. You're my go-to for the backstories. So Drax is Drax the Destroyer, right? Mm-hmm. So I wonder, he becomes so lovable, so funny in these movies, and I wonder if that is similar to how he was in the comics, because his name is Drax the Destroyer. He's supposed to be this big tough guy, super powerful, but then has all these great, funny, loving, tender relationships in the movie. So that was a good one. Good number 10, guys.
Thanks.
Excellent. So our number 10, thank you, Jacob.
In case anyone didn't hear it, there was a, that's 13-year-old for thank you.
All right. Very good. So our number 10 is Bucky. Now, if you are paying attention and you know what we're talking about, Bucky's not actually dead. Well, by the way, spoilers.
Yeah.
Oops, we didn't say that. Spoiler alert. We'll put that in the show description, I think. Spoiler alert. Or show notes. I think
deaths in the MCU is pretty much
right.
Going to give it away. But
that's
okay.
True. Okay, anyway.
Let's go. Carry on.
So Bucky is one of those characters we lost to the dust in Infinity War, but he's technically not dead.
That's a different topic.
Right, it's a different topic altogether. But so Bucky dies, quote unquote, in Captain America: The First Avenger 2011 movie. So that's what we're talking about.
When he doesn't he fall off a train?
Very good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you do remember things. So Bucky is such a great character.
But we never actually see him die.
Exactly, because he didn't actually die.
Right.
But Cap, so this was a loss for Cap, right?
Yeah.
And so
yeah, so he's actually that's on my list. Is when Cap loses Bucky.
Oh, good. Okay. But don't tell me where it is.
Oh, I won't. It's not really ranked, but I'll pretend that's important for you.
Okay. It is important. Podcast top 10 list. It is important.
I got 10 on a list. I didn't put them in order.
Good. How's your coffee, Jackson? Good. Such a strong, great bond between Steve and Bucky. They're like brothers. Steve looks up to him right at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. Then the dynamic changes, and Bucky then looks up to Cap because Cap thought Bucky was either dead or captured, and he was. Red Skull and his crazy group of Nazi scientists were experimenting on him, but Cap rescues him, right? And he starts to then look up to Cap, so that dynamic changed. They're still very strong, and finally, in the third act of the movie, they get a chance to fight together, fight side by side, and then Bucky dies. He falls off the train. So that's very, very powerful, very strong loss for Cap. Do you have anything else to add on that?
No.
I guess that's a no. I love Bucky. I love that whole character. I love when he comes back. Winter Soldier. A lot of people say that Winter Soldier is the best film in the entire MCU.
No.
You don't think so, Jacob?
No.
Do you have a thought real quick? What is your choice?
I don't know.
You don't know. On the spot come back to us on that.
Can
so
I
that's
talk
our number
about,
10.
Can I talk about why it's on our list?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Talk
so,
about it and then just let us know where it falls.
I guess when we get to it. You
don't have an order.
Well, it was part of it. It was Captain America's losses. So including Bucky and including the girlfriend. What's her name?
Peggy.
Yeah. So,
Agent Carter.
So he loses everything, right? He loses his past. He now becomes this sort of indestructible super Captain America, but he's lost Bucky, who is like a brother to him. He's lost his ability to be with Peggy. We see him when Peggy does finally die many films later. This is where
yes.
Right. He's a pallbearer at her wedding.
Her funeral.
At her funeral. Another important life ceremony.
Is that Civil War? Does she dies, Jake?
Yeah.
I think it's Civil War.
Yeah. So we talked about how those losses sort of propel Captain America in his story, and they're really profound losses for him. So Bucky was a component of that.
And actually, there's another loss in the first Avenger. The scientist, I forget his name. He became like a mentor to Steve Rogers and played by Stanley Tucci. Do you remember? He died too. He got shot, I think. Another strong loss for Cap. So that's good.
Yeah. Thanks.
What's your number 9?
Star-Lord's mom.
Ooh, Peter Quill's mom.
Peter Quill's mom, right? So that's his whole journey, right? He carries around this tape that his mom made for him, and then he gets another tape that his mom made for him.
Yes.
And then he finds out that his dad put a tumor in.
Right. So then he finds out that his dad actually killed his mom.
I forgot that part.
Yeah.
Jeez, Kurt Russell.
Yeah. So, and we actually see his mom die. So we see him seeing his mom die too as a young child. We sort of see that experience of them all being in the hospital room, her being sick, dying from the tumor, family around. We kind of see that actual death scene and see how he then sort of turned inward and became very isolated.
Yes.
After that loss.
Such a powerful loss for him.
Yes. And his sort of enduring connection, if you listen to episode 12, we're going to be talking about children's loss and how it's important to kind of have like an opportunity to remember and stay connected to your loved one. That his connection is the music.
His music.
Which is fantastic music.
Which is such a
good soundtrack.
Magnificent part of Guardians is all the soundtrack.
Yes.
We play it all the time on Spotify, don't we?
I actually think the Guardians are my favorite ones.
Yeah?
My favorite movies in the series.
So
Jacob also says no. So we know it's not Winter Soldier and none of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
What's your favorite, Jackson? Guardians of the Galaxy is your favorite? Oh, we're the same over here. We're twinning. So
Quill's mom, Jacob and I had an honorable mention list, and Quill's mom made the honorable mention list. I think it's depicted and portrayed in such a sweet and tender way.
Yeah.
His loss.
And realistic. You know, like, because he's a human or part human.
Part human.
But at that time, he thinks he's human fully. And so we see a real kind of human kind of loss there in a hospital, family, not really paying attention to him very much.
Exactly.
What was your number 9?
Okay, so our number 9, and I don't see... I was going to reference the movie. Oh, there it is. So number 9 is the Starks. Howard Stark. And
I don't know her name.
Are they? Did you not? Jackson and I talked about it. Did we not write it down? So we talked about that.
So that's a very powerful loss for Tony.
So I couldn't remember. That's why we didn't write it down, because I couldn't really remember what kind of impact it had on Tony. And then like the reality around the loss kind of comes out as you move through the MCU. So so fill me in.
So that we learned about this. Did you have something to say, Jake?
I was going to tell her.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh.
So, like, as in Civil War at the way beginning, it showed Bucky killing 2 people in the car. And then, like, in the end part of the movie,
we realized.
Yeah, he shows the clip.
Bucky killed Tony Stark's parents?
And then the bad guy.
I know, I'm such a disappointment. Josh is hanging his head
like
in
the
shame.
actual bad guy in the movie shows Tony the clip to make Bucky really mad at him, and Tony really mad at him, at Bucky. And then they fight more.
Oh.
Right, it's a very big reveal in that film.
Wait, is this why Captain America and Tony kind of fight?
Yes.
I see, okay. It's
so
coming
this
back
is Civil War. Came out in 2016. I love Civil War. Civil War might be amongst my favorites.
Really that loss is one of the big factors that drive a wedge between Tony and Captain America.
Absolutely.
I see. Okay. I know what I want to say. I knew this while I was watching the movie, but the way my brain works is then I walk out and I forget about it and replace it with like something else, some other nonsense.
Did you have something, Jackson?
Oh, sorry. He's raising his hand, but I have my back to him. Sorry.
I didn't put it down because it doesn't motivate Tony to do anything.
It doesn't motivate Tony to do anything?
Except to
because that was the way we approached the conversation last night. Jackson and I was like, what losses were really powerful for the characters? And so we couldn't really figure out how it becomes important for Tony towards the end of the story where he learns sort of the origin of it a little bit.
Right.
But like through the rest of his adulthood, I don't know. I struggled with kind of understanding the impact that had on him, except that I guess he was always very,
he was trying to live up to his dad.
Yeah. He was always very much living in his dad's shadow, always wanting to impress him. And so I guess Jackson, that probably is how it impacted him. Like he just really never got his dad's approval and always wanted that.
I mean, that was the conflict in Civil War. A lot of the conflict was Bucky trying to remember his past, feeling guilty about all the stuff he did, even though he was brainwashed. It wasn't really him, but he still felt guilty and responsible for everything. And to have one of those, one of the horrible things he did have been the murder of an Avengers parents. That's pretty powerful. I love the whole Howard Stark lore. We meet him in multiple movies. We see footage of him in, I think, Iron Man 2 or 3. We see him in
Avengers, the first one.
Yep, the first Avengers. We meet him when he and Peggy are kind of a thing.
They founded S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, he was there at the beginning of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I love the whole Howard Stark lore. We don't really see Mrs. Stark all that much, except for in Civil War. And then to see that they died so violently at the hands of a super soldier. That's pretty powerful. So our number 9 was the Starks. Do you have anything else to add on that?
No.
Okay, so number 9 for you guys.
No, now we're on number 8.
Oh, did you guys go first?
Yeah. I don't really remember. All I know is we did number 9 already.
Okay.
So number 8 for us would be Star-Lord again, Peter Quill again, except when he loses Gamora. When he finds out that Gamora has been tossed off the giant cliff by Thanos, because that
gave him the Soul Stone.
Yes. So that. But that's not the approach I had. So Jacob's like, because that gave Thanos the Soul Stone. No, for me, the reason I have it on the list is because that made Peter really kind of be blinded by grief, right? Like in that moment, that is why they're not able to remove the gauntlet from Thanos' hand. I know, I'm such a disappointment. I'm owning that. Because of his grief, because he learns in that moment when they're all working together. They've got Thanos kind of under control. They're almost there. And he learns that Gamora has been murdered at the hands of Thanos and he can't keep it together.
Nope.
And that is such a accurate depiction of grief. I mean, we're not all superheroes trying to like pry a gauntlet off of a superpower, but his brain shut off, right? Like that was, he had grief brain and he couldn't see that the entire world, the safety of the world, all these people that he knew and didn't know relied upon him sort of keeping it together. He couldn't do it because he was just grief stricken.
Can I just say that you said that we're not all superheroes trying to pry a glove off of a superpower?
Yeah. Was that funny?
Jacob liked that.
Oh.
I think it was profound. I don't know.
I think Jacob's laughing at me.
He's
a person? But he's like super powerful because he's got all these stones.
Yeah. You didn't say powerful.
Powerful. Sorry. Okay.
So they almost had it off too. That was a very pivotal moment in that movie. Was it his finger? They had it off. And everyone around him was like, keep it together, and he just couldn't. And you know what? That's a really accurate depiction of grief. Like that, it didn't matter that the fate of the universe was resting on his shoulders. Right. It didn't matter because all he was feeling in that moment was utter heartbreak. So Gamora is on our list as well.
Okay.
And when we get to her on the countdown, I'll tell you. But such a powerful loss, such a powerful death. I think she died in Infinity War, obviously. And I think it's one of those deaths in Infinity War that might end up being permanent, right? That's what people are thinking. So a lot of the snapped, turned to dust deaths, that was tough for me to say. We're assuming that in the next movie, Endgame, we're going to see, hopefully, at least some of that undone, right? We're going to see these folks come back to life. But we think the fandom out there, the assumption is that Gamora is one of those deaths that happened in Infinity War that is permanent. And such a sweet love story with her and Peter.
I think it's actually my favorite love story from the whole MCU. Mm-hmm.
No, I know all the love stories now.
I feel like there's a lot of love stories in the MCU.
So.
That's probably a whole other episode.
Yeah.
Love
Vision,
stories
Scarlet
in the MCU.
Witch.
Yeah. Not just romantic love stories. There's like Bucky and Cap. Yeah, there's sort of relationships
in the MCU, like Bruce and Black Widow. Very powerful. Anyway, Gamora's death is so sad, not only for Peter, but for Thanos.
Yeah.
We see that he's kind of got a soul. He's kind of not just evil. He's crying.
Don't peek at his list, Jackson. Jackson just left the room and came back and is reading ahead. Cheater. What did his list say?
I wanted to... That scene is amazing. We've got Red Skull played by the amazing Ross
He's
Marquand.
good.
He's such a great actor and such a great impressionist. You got that scene on, I forget the name of the planet, but they're trying to get the Soul Stone. Vormir. Good job, man. See, this is why we keep Jacob around. He knows the details.
Well, I keep him around for many other reasons, but
I just keep him around for the details.
Jackson's just leaving. No, I keep you around because I need you to read this.
Yeah. So anyway, such a powerful moment when Thanos has to sacrifice Gamora and he's crying, and such a big loss felt throughout the MCU. I think
Gamora thought that he was crying because he didn't have anything to love and he couldn't sacrifice anything to get the stone.
Right.
But then when Red Skull said the tears weren't for him, she knew that she was gonna die.
Yeah. And then she tried one last chance to stab him with that knife that he gave her. Right. So that's a good one. Gamora. Nice job, guys.
Also, I just want to say that that sort of scene shows that even monsters can grieve, right? That
Yes.
everybody
grieves.
Everybody grieves. Even like the biggest, toughest, meanest people still have the capacity to grieve and mourn, that it's a universal kind of feeling there. Just
Absolutely.
I'm just bringing it back to our content here.
We talked a lot about how much villains can be beloved in a Disney episode. I think that villains can be beloved too in the MCU.
Maybe,
Part
but
of
I
what
don't
makes the
beloved
MCU
Thanos.
great. I know, but people can revere him. He's very powerful. And he's a supervillain to the nth degree. We've seen him
and I
in
guess
the
his whole
shadows
motivation,
throughout the entire
right?
phases, all the phases.
His motivation to wipe out half of everything is to sort of restore like balance in a way, right?
Yes.
So some could say, I guess, that's a positive sort of desire in a way.
Right. And his argument is that he's not evil. He's just the only one willing to do this.
Right. Exactly. So,
but he loves his daughter.
Yeah.
His adopted daughter.
So that was
Nebula.
So not Nebula.
I don't think he likes Nebula very much. I like Nebula.
He replaced her body parts and made her a robot.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
That's not love.
He's not a good dad.
No, he's not a very good
dad. For
sure.
Okay.
So what number was that for you guys?
7. No, wait. 8, 10, 9. Ours are numbered 1 through 10. So that was 3 for us. So 10, 9, 8.
All right. So then our next one, our number 8 would be Quicksilver from Age of Ultron.
No, Pedro
Maximoff. Part of the twins, the Maximoff twins.
Is Scarlet Witch the other one?
Yes.
Okay. He didn't make it to our list.
So I love Age of Ultron.
What movie was that?
Age of Ultron. Sorry, I'm trying to read and flip between websites at the same time.
I knew what he said.
Well, Jacob knew what you said because he speaks Josh.
So Avengers Age of Ultron, 2015. We first see them in the post-credit scene. Ooh, was it a Guardians movie? We first meet the twins? I can't quite remember. They're actually X-Men, at least in the lore.
But they can't use that term.
No, or maybe
mutants.
Now they can.
Or
right?
Mutants. Back then they couldn't.
So we first meet them at the end credits, I think, of a Guardians movie. They are, I forget what they were called. They weren't allowed to refer to them as mutants, right?
Or X-Men. I don't know.
No, I forget what they call special or something. But we see them first sort of being used by the bad guys in Age of Ultron, and then they switch over and they become members of the Avengers. They're in that final battle with Ultron. We see Quicksilver sacrifice himself to save.
Because Hawkeye had a kid and he was trying to save him.
Yes.
And they were shooting at Hawkeye, so he ran in front of him. But then he got shot a bunch of times. But what I don't understand is that earlier in the movie, one of their teammates shot Quicksilver and he just walked it off. But he died.
I think it was just the vast number of bullets. He just couldn't.
Oh, we have a question over here.
Yes.
They were called Inhumans.
Were they Inhumans?
No.
He may be looking this up. He looked it
okay.
up. So he's our fact checker
Okay.
I don't believe that.
for this episode.
Humans is like their own thing, Jackson.
But maybe they're allowed to. Is Inhumans part of the MCU though? Yeah, so they're allowed to say that. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're getting off track here though.
That's
kiddos.
okay. This was the first really big death of a hero in the
really?
MCU. Yeah.
Huh. I don't remember it.
Especially remember the first Avenger to die, really. Right?
Unless you count like Bucky, but
What's that?
unless you count like Bucky.
Right, but he didn't actually die. I wasn't suspecting it. I didn't expect us to lose a hero in this movie, so it was a big loss in that way as well. He sacrificed himself. The loss meant something really, really profound to Scarlet Witch, to Wanda, and now she clearly has survivor's guilt. We talked about that a lot, Jenny, right?
Yeah. So Scarlet Witch is on our list. Well, I'm not supposed to tell you where. But so where did he die?
In Sokovia.
Sokovia, right? That's what we were trying. I was trying to remember. Nope, different place. Never mind. It might be different.
Okay.
Hold, please. We'll get to that.
I love the actor who plays Quicksilver 2's Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's been in a few movies, but I was sad to see him go because I wanted to see that character go through. In the Fox X-Men movies, we do have someone else playing Quicksilver, who's actually the offspring of Magneto. Yeah, is that correct, Jacob?
Yeah.
Okay, so we love that character. Sad to see him go, but I think it gave Scarlet Witch, Wanda, a pretty cool story arc. So that was our number 8.
So our number 7 was when Cap loses Bucky, and then Peggy,
Gotcha.
and sort of his whole sort of
So
past.
Cap's lost.
Yeah.
So can I tell you, we have an honorable mention for Captain America in a loss?
Yep.
What?
Hold it, because I think it's on our list.
Oh, okay.
Proceed.
Okay, we'll hold it then.
You don't think it is? All right. Well, ours is not in order, so I'm going to jump to.
Is it a person?
No.
Okay, so we'll hold it then.
Yes. So.
So that was your number 7?
Yes.
So my
Yes.
number 7, our number 7 is Killmonger.
Who's Killmonger?
We should just shut the recording off right now. Who's Killmonger? Jacob, explain who Killmonger is.
It is Black Panther's cousin and the main villain in the movie Black Panther.
That's correct. Played by Michael B. Jordan.
And at the end of the movie, when Killmonger's dying, he accepts it, and Black Panther's saying, like, we can heal you, but he just accepts his death.
Is he the guy who challenges him?
Mhm.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And wins.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's
Again,
quite all
I
right.
own the level of disappointment people feel with me.
But
with regards
it's
to
there.
movies.
It's just right under the surface, right?
You could see this if you follow us on social media. Someone made a posted something that was a very, I guess, clear reference to a movie, and I didn't get it. And I was like, oh, and I responded in a very sort of therapeutic way, and they were like, oh, I was just making a reference to Pet Sematary.
Which I got. I got that reference. I haven't seen the new one yet, though. That just came out. So, yes, Killmonger is next. Eric Killmonger, the cousin of Black Panther. T'Challa. I love this villain. Probably my favorite villain, if you can even call him that, really. Yeah, he did some bad things and murdered some people. Murdered the Claw, which I'm not Ulysses Claw. I like Claw. I was sad to see him go
But he
as far
was
as
in
villains.
Age of Ultron
Yes.
4, which
Right.
I didn't know until we rewatched all of them.
Right. But we really feel for him in this movie. He had a lot of loss himself. Like, he lost his dad to T'Chaka, right? And that was a pretty powerful loss. And we see in the Wakandan culture, very similar to some other actual real world cultures, Jenny, where there's not, like, death means you go to someplace else, right?
Yes,
you talked
like
about
another
that in one
spiritual
of our
level.
other
It's very
episodes.
common in Native American beliefs.
Right. So
Mhm.
Marvel has put that sort of element into the universe that Wakanda is in, and we see Killmonger talking to his dad all the time, sort of going back to that place.
But he was in Oakland as opposed to when Black
Wakanda.
Panther became Black Panther. Obviously, he when he went to see his dad, he was in like a different like a place we've never seen before.
Yeah.
But then when Killmonger became Black Panther, he went to Oakland with his dad, where he died.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Did you remember that?
I mean, kind of, sort
that
of. Yeah,
Killmonger
I'm
becomes
like,
Black Panther.
yes.
He defeats him.
Yeah,
He
no, I'm
defeats T'Challa.
remembering those. I'm not really remembering the different planes here, but
That was a really good point, Jake. So he learned about who he really was when his father died, before his father died. Do you have a point, Jackson?
Not really. He's not really Black Panther. He's Gold Jaguar. That's what it is in the comics.
Oh, that's right. And you could see that his
uniform,
suit.
costume, suit. See, I have a problem with these
His
words.
suit was gold in color. That final battle scene between him and Black Panther is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So great.
Great CGI too.
Great CGI. It's really well done. He loses his dad. He learns about who he really was, and he starts on this quest to become the king of Wakanda, and he does. He gets there. And then, of course, T'Challa defeats him. I was hoping he wouldn't die, but he does. So it was a pretty powerful loss. Great movie, great character, great actor.
Back to the point where you said when he defeats T'Challa, that and when Thanos snapped at the end of Infinity War are probably the two biggest moments in MCU history.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everybody was like, well, he's like T'Challa's gonna beat him, right? But then it ends up that Eric Killmonger doesn't really kill him, but everybody thinks that he's dead.
He thinks that was big.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Killmonger. That was our number 7, I think.
Okay. So now it's my turn, right?
I think it's your turn.
So then our number 6 is Loki. All of the times he dies.
That's our number 6 as well.
Oh, really?
Loki. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the times he dies?
Well, all of the times Thor thinks he has died. Because it's from the perspective of Thor losing his brother.
Yeah.
Even though they have this very complex, complicated relationship, Thor still grieves when he learns that his brother is dead.
Right.
And in the Dark World, is that the first time Loki kind of dies?
Yes.
Yeah. That was the first time that Thor thinks he dies. He goes in this huge state of just sobbing, bawling his eyes out.
Right. So
because he really does think he's dead.
He really and even though we saw their complex relationship, it's an accurate depiction of grief that you can have a very complicated, sort of tumultuous relationship with someone, and then when you lose them to death, or you think you've lost them to death, your grief can be very palpable, very real, very raw. So grief doesn't just happen when you're madly in love with someone and you have a wonderful relationship. It can be just as complicated when the relationship itself was complicated.
Complicated grief. Probably the most beloved villain in all superhero movies, maybe, Loki.
Yeah.
Love Loki.
I also don't like Loki.
You don't like Loki?
Mm-mm.
How could you not like Loki? He goes back and forth. Villain, hero.
It's confusing. He's alive. He's dead. It's hard for me to keep up with.
Well, I think he's actually dead now, which stinks. Along with
Didn't
Gamora.
he actually sacrifice himself for
sort of, yeah.
Well,
right?
So he grabbed the fake. No, it was real, and then then he said
the beginning of Infinity War.
Right.
Then he used the phrase that Tony said to him in the first Avengers. We have a Hulk, and then Thanos just easily destroys Hulk and.
Well, not that easily.
Yes, that easily.
No, because in the beginning, Hulk beat him, and then
he got 2 hits off him.
Well, he still beat him a little.
He still did well, but
but
Hulk wasn't expecting.
But he did not win. And Thor, nobody there expected Thanos to beat him. And then, that's a sacrifice you're talking about.
Yeah, because didn't he sacrifice himself at a time that sort of allowed that all to kind of happen?
Go ahead, Jackson.
Well, not really, because after Hulk was hurt, Loki gave him the stone, and then said he was on his side, and then tried to knife him, and then Heimdall, who actually dies,
Yes,
Sent
Hulk back to Earth. So technically, Loki sacrificed himself for Hulk.
yes,
Right. But
Right.
I was thinking for the greater good. He kind of saw he made a very selfless decision in that moment.
Heimdall's death is pretty powerful too, actually.
Yeah. Thor grieving.
I tried to put him on our list, didn't make it.
Thor grieves a lot in MCU because he lost his brother, his dad, his mom, his best friend, and then in that scene in Infinity War when Rock is talking to him, and Thor says, "What could go wrong? I have absolutely nothing to lose." It's just a very sad moment.
Oh, yeah, and you can really see that Thor has nothing left to live for. I wish that I think my understanding about why Thor and Jane we don't see them together anymore. It's really sort of contractual with her. Isn't it something about contract?
Yeah, something
I think it's not really part of the story.
I'm not really sure.
But I feel like they never really adequately address it. And I wish they had, because it would have made sense for him to talk about how they're no longer together, maybe because of his grief, because of his losses. Maybe he's not able to pursue another kind of committed, serious relationship because he has nothing else to live for, or because he's lost everybody, so he's afraid to have a connection. I just feel like they fluffed that off.
It's like this one-off.
It was an
joke
opportunity.
in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Loki says something, "That's why Jane broke up with you." And
Yeah,
she's
and
like,
then
he didn't break up with me.
There was people walking by,
Mhm.
and then they said sorry that Jane broke up with you.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
what
he
it is.
goes-
That's what it is.
And he goes, "No, I broke up with her."
Yes, but I wish they could have spent 3 more minutes and just kind of leaned
Right.
into that and connected it to the grief. That's just a little bit of an aside for me.
Loki's got such a great character arc from the first Avengers to Infinity War. I loved him in Ragnarok. That's in that movie he goes really back and forth quickly from hero to villain, and he's got such a strong, complicated relationship with Thor. But what we learn in Infinity War is that he truly does love his brother. He loves Thor.
Yes.
Right. He loves being a son of Odin's son. He says that right before he dies, right?
Yeah.
I, Loki, Odin's son.
Yeah.
It was so sad to see
He's
him
not.
die for real.
He really isn't.
No, he is. He's not his
Adopted.
biological son, but he's his adopted son. So for all intents and purposes, he's just as much a son.
Shout out to how funny that line was in the first Avengers when Thor says, "That's my brother you're talking about," and they list all the bad stuff he did, and he goes, "He's adopted." But real quick, one last point about Loki, just to bring it back to what I said about Gamora. The thought is people are thinking that
He's gone.
that's permanent, along with Gamora.
That
and
Loki
Heimdall.
and Gamora are
Right.
officially dead.
But that's a big debate about Loki because of all his fake deaths.
Right.
But I don't know.
I guess we will find out. I
We
mean,
will.
really, truthfully, when this airs today, we will find out
We'll
tonight,
find out
right? The 4 of
tonight.
us are going to be finding out because
Who's
this
so
is airing
excited?
on the whatever day that is, whatever that Thursday, the
25th.
25th.
That's tonight.
Huh?
That's tonight.
That's tonight,
We're on
yes.
this 25th right now.
We're not really recording this on the 25th.
Don't tell anybody.
We're breaking the fourth wall.
Okay.
All right, where are we? Oh, so I just read my Loki, which was also your
Awesome.
number
Yep.
6. So our
next.
number 5 is Captain America's shield.
All right.
So that was on your
That's
list?
powerful. It's not on our list. It's on our honorable
It's your honorable
mentions.
mention that Jacob thought wasn't on our list.
Real quick, Thor's parents also are on our honorable mentions list.
Gotcha. Okay. So Jackson, did you want to talk about Cap's shield since you were the one that put this on there?
Not really, but didn't when
I'll tell you.
it broke, didn't Cap and Tony, well, whatever happened, didn't weren't Cap and Tony fighting when it happened?
Yes.
So
So I don't. Well, you.
Tony
I don't
said-
remember.
Did they stop
So
fighting
they're,
for a second, or did they keep going?
I don't remember.
so they were
actually.
fighting, right? And
Who's fighting?
Cap and Tony.
Cap, Bucky, and Tony.
Okay, over
On
the
house.
thing when
Uh-huh.
Bucky
Yep.
when everybody learns that Bucky killed his parents. Gotcha.
Yep, right. But this is later. But
Okay, but like that conflict is there because of that.
Exactly. And so they're all fighting, and then they get Tony on the ground, the shield, and Cap still has a shield at this point. And then Tony goes, he says, "I thought I was your best friend," and he goes, "Bucky is." And then as they're walking out, Tony says, "My dad made that shield," because he did, out of the vibranium.
Yep.
And then he just drops it there. And Tony still couldn't get up, though.
That's right.
But so how does the shield break?
It doesn't.
Oh, so how does
get a mark from Bucky there.
The breaking of the shield, I think, was in that vision, Tony's vision, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When he saw everybody dead, and
Right.
Oh,
that basically did come. I think I know what you mean, because people always say that his vision came true, because like all of his friends and family dies, but the shield never breaks.
Right.
But does he lose his shield?
He loses his shield.
How does he lose his shield?
Because he just leaves it there.
Oh, he leaves it there.
And Bucky just leave.
Oh, so
Right.
he chooses to leave it there?
Yep.
Ah,
Like he
But
still
it's still
has,
a loss.
it's a loss. Yeah,
he still
so
has
it's
some there. He still has like some love for Tony, and he's like, "Well, I did beat you up and he's right that his dad did make the shield.
Right.
So he's like, "All right, take the shield. You can't do anything with it anyway."
right. I got you. So sort of the meaning behind the shield kind of changes through that exchange, and so he makes a decision to not have it be such a big part of his life, but that's a loss for him. So
Right.
Jackson, good job putting that. That was all Jackson.
His Wakandan shields are way better though.
Oh, he got new ones. Okay.
So,
Well,
You're here-
Well,
oh.
in the trailer, he has a shield.
yes.
His
he
original
does.
shield.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
For
it was, like,
an
time
Endgame
traveling
trailer.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll find that out tonight.
What did you just say, Jack? I'm sorry.
Because it's supposed to be like time travel on that. Cause
Well,
like,
we'll find out tonight.
yeah.
Also on our honorable mentions list is Mjolnir. You know what that is?
That's Thor's hammer?
Yes,
Yay!
Thor's hammer. These things are an extension of like the person. Like Cap's shield is an extension of him and his power.
Yeah, like,
Thor's hammer literally is how he conducts lightning, right?
Well, so I would argue that these are things that they're attached to.
Yeah.
And when we talk about grief and loss, there has to be an attachment. So you can feel grief and loss as long as there was some sort of attachment. It doesn't have to be a happy, positive attachment, but they were. So Cap and his shield and Thor and his hammer, there's a very close, strong attachment there. So when those things are lost, even though they're not people, they're not humans, there's still a deep sadness, right? Like people can have grief when their house burns down. They can have grief when they lose their baby blanket, or like, when I was 3, my parents would tell you I lost baby bear and mama bear, some little stuffed animals. And I was so devastated they had to go like drive around to find them and they found them. But that's because I had an attachment to these things. So,
Right.
so I just want to put in there that piece about attachment and grief. That's really, in order for there to be grief, there has to be attachment.
Like
Right.
if you saw Mjolnir, you'll be like, "Oh, isn't that Thor's hammer?" That's how, and that proves that like Thor is always with the hammer.
Right.
Such a connection to that.
Yeah.
But I think Stormbreaker is cooler than Mjolnir.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's like meant to kill Thanos, right?
What's that?
Isn't the like how he makes it? What's his name? The dwarf.
Yes. And
Little
s-
person.
Played by
I like to just call him
He's
Peter
big. Well, he's big.
Dinklage.
Dinklage.
Yeah.
I like to just call him the Game of Thrones dude.
So yeah, and
It's the only weapon that actually, or a time that Thanos is hurt, except for the time Tony punched him and blood
Yes.
and blood.
Good call out, Jackson.
we did like a bunch of stuff, and Thanos said all that for a drop of blood,
Yeah.
and then we knew, oh, this is
How,
gonna be
how,
tough.
how many times do you think we've watched Infinity War, at least that scene?
I've seen it about like at least 7.
That's a bunch of times. All right. So where are we?
Not at the end. This is a very long episode.
It's fun, though.
Not
Okay.
really.
I've been on the longest one. but I know.
So my number 5. What's your number 5?
You were saying not really to it being long, not to it being fun, right?
Oh,
Josh?
not really to it being long.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, we did number 5. That was
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Oh, yeah,
We're
yeah,
on
5.
4.
We're
So
Yeah.
whatever
we're
your
at
5 was.
4 or 5 then.
Our 5 is Gamora,
Mhm.
which we
Oh,
already
okay.
talked
We already
about.
talked about.
Right.
So then our number 4 is Uncle Ben,
Okay.
not the rice. Spider-Man's uncle.
Nice.
So that that's outside of MCU, right?
No, I don't. Clearly, because it's on my list.
It's in the only one that I can think back to is in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man one.
But it's part of every Spider-Man in the MC. It's still part of his history. Uncle Ben is dead, right?
I'm saying, like, that's what you see it in that one, and he is very sad in that.
Right. So we don't see it in the MCU one.
But you know that the MCU Spider-Man is grieving about that.
Right.
I get where you're coming from.
Well,
and then it seems like there's some secondary loss there. It seems like Spidey and his aunt, or if you were in another part of the country or the world, aunt. Are kind of struggling a little bit to adjust to sort of like a single parent household in a way. It seems like it's new for them to not have Uncle Ben.
Yes.
Yeah.
And cue Iron Man as a father figure for Peter.
Exactly. And so that could be why why Tony Stark becomes such an important kind of role model and father figure, and even Happy, right? That I think even Happy sort of fulfills that role for Spider-Man too.
I love
maybe because Uncle Ben is gone.
Relationship.
I love that little.
I love Happy period.
I want Happy to get together with Aunt May. It would be cute.
It says that they kind of have a relationship.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
In the Far From Home trailer.
Yes.
Where he's like, Happy says to Aunt May, a new dress, and she goes, yeah. And then Peter's like, what just happened?
Right, yeah, no, I like that. I'm hoping that there's something around that tonight in the movie. So Jackson, did you have anything to add? No? Okay.
So I will say, in the trailer from Far From Home, the first time we see evidence of Uncle Ben is the monogram on Peter's suitcase. It says BFP. Ben Parker.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what his middle initial stands for, but we just said we were to assume that we don't see the Spider-Man origin story in MCU because we've seen that so many times
like
before.
55 versions of it.
Right. And so they chose. Quick shout out to Into the Spider-Verse. How great was that movie?
That was
the animated movie.
I think
so good.
One of my favorite movies ever.
So good.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Such a good flick.
If for some reason you're an MCU fan and you haven't seen it, you should see it. But I'm pretty sure
get out there and see it.
That movie covered grief too because Kingpin lost his family, and he was so mad he tried to replace it.
Yes, that's the whole motivation, right? So he tries to clone them or go back in time.
No, a
different universe.
Different universe, right? Like a different from a different multiverse. Yeah.
Well, nice call out to the Netflix MCU, which is no longer, it's going to be Disney Plus and all that. But the Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio in that,
Daredevil
loses his family, actually kills his dad and everything. Yeah, it was lots of grief there. Anyway, what was I just saying? Oh, we're to assume that the loss happened. We don't see the Spider-Man origin story. The Spider-Man origin story usually does involve the death of Uncle Ben, so we don't see that.
Right.
But I love the little Easter egg of the monogram for Uncle Ben's suitcase.
Very cool. So what's your number 4?
Our number 4 is Yondu.
Oh, he's on our list too.
All right, from Guardians of the Galaxy. Love him, played by Michael Rooker. Such a fun character. I love the relationship he has with Peter. You see
again that father figure, right,
yes.
Jacob?
He really becomes one of the most beloved characters in Guardians movie. It's too bad we don't see him now as part of the Avengers Infinity War universe because he dies.
Yeah. You know what
Guardians
I really
2.
also... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sacrificial death again. So Peter has now lost his mom. He lost who he thought was his dad, his biological dad, but Kurt Russell turns out to be... wait, what's his character's name? I'm blanking.
Ego.
What is it?
Ego, the Living Planet.
Yes, Ego.
He is a celestial and an elder.
And a jerk.
Good job, man. And a jerk. Good job, Jacob.
Thank you.
So Peter loses his mom. He loses Ego.
And now eventually Gamora.
What's that?
And then eventually Gamora.
Gamora, but before Gamora, he loses Yondu, who he realizes was his dad.
Right.
Really his dad.
And you know what is really beautiful about that is they actually show the importance of a funeral. of some sort of formal commemorative ceremony, right?
Oh,
like
yeah,
they
with
send
the
out,
fireworks.
with the fireworks
Oh,
and like
yeah.
everyone comes to sort of pay their
Good job with
respects. And
that,
there's this
Jenni.
beautiful sort of really beautiful funeral ceremony where everyone's kind of standing in their spaceships. Right? Is that what I
Yep.
can call a spaceship?
What else would that be?
I don't know. I don't know what hammer is called. Has a name. I don't know.
Mjolnir.
Everything has a name in the MCU.
And
So-
I was also, sorry. You can
So that's a kind of honest, accurate depiction of, because I'm going to keep pulling us back here, So what does it say about grief? What does it say about death? This is showing that formal ceremony, that's really important and beautiful and powerful.
Right. Go ahead, Jake.
I just want to say that they did a great job taking Yondu from the comics with the giant mohawk thing, and he had a bow to shoot his arrow.
Yes.
And he was wearing absolutely no clothes, and then they just did a great job reimagining him to make him into the MCU with no bow, a shorter mohawk. I really like that.
Very cool weapon. How he can control the arrow with whistles. It's very cool.
Yeah, I love that scene where Rocket and Groot break out of the scavenger.
Yeah,
Yeah, they break out of the scavenger ship. I really like that scene.
that was cool. That's a cool scene.
All
I
those
love
scenes are
Groot.
great because there's also cool soundtrack behind all of those cool fight scenes in Guardians, which is why it's our
We
favorite
can't-
over here. The two of us sitting on this sofa.
I love Guardians. Yeah, it's not my absolute favorite, but I love it. So we're talking about. I'm trying to pull back to the movies that these characters died in. So Guardians, Volume 2, 2017, when that came out in Phase 3 of the MCU. You can't talk about Yondu without mentioning one of his last lines. Such a great line.
Mary Poppins, y'all.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
'Cause-
Is he cool?
Yeah,
And Peter says, what does Peter say?
yeah, he's cool.
Or the cooler. Yeah, he's cool. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Such a great movie. Such a great character.
He goes, "You look like Mary Poppins," and he goes, "Is he cool?" He goes, "Hell yeah, he's cool."
Excellent. So that was our number. I don't even know. I don't know where we are. 4?
7?
4. Oh,
Hold on.
4. So,
Right.
That was our number 4.
All right. So then our number 3, I think that maybe Jackson and I are remembering two different things, but it's Scarlet Witch. Not her death, but when she sort of causes people's death, right?
Oh, yeah,
So what is
in
the name of the place?
Civil War.
Where is that place?
I don't know.
Oh, you know all of these things. We stumped you.
That's the one thing I don't remember.
Ah.
I want to say it's Sokovia again.
I wanted to say that too, but
No, it's
Jackson
not
says it's not Sokovia.
But
But in my head it sounded like that.
It's a real place. It's not a made up. Sokovia is not real.
Oh, the place was a real place?
I think so.
Oh, I don't know.
They were recovering some sort of stolen tech.
But so she had all this guilt, kind of survivor's
Yeah,
guilt
that was-
around
that's
that.
a good
So that
one.
was a sort of powerful thing for us. Did you have your hand raised or were you just shouting yourself out over there, Jackson?
He was
shouting
shouting
himself out.
himself out.
Yeah. Okay. But if someone can remember the name of that place,
We can look it up.
I tried
Jackson,
to look it
look
up
it
last
up.
night. He's not a
Not
good
really.
Googler.
No, he's not.
Neither are you.
If you go to
Josh.
IMDb and look at the plot details, it should have it in there.
That's a new word.
For what
Googler.
movie?
Googler is a new word.
That's Civil War, right?
Oh.
Yep.
That's kind of what sparked the Accords, the
Well,
Sokovia Accords.
And then she kind of winds up not really in hiding, but that's when her and Vision,
Mhm.
right, kind of wind up sort of solitary together, and they
Yes,
develop
'cause
their
he's-
relationship,
he's
which again
her
is one of my favorite relationships in the
prison
MCU.
guard, kind of.
And
Yeah,
then
but then they-
escape off to Germany.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like
That's
Whitney
where we
Houston
see
and
them in
Kevin
Infinity
Costner.
War. Right. Bodyguard.
Yes,
Great fight
That's a
scene
good
in
one.
Germany.
That's a good.
these last 5 are really Jackson's. He came
Yeah,
prepared.
that significantly affected her story arc, her
Mhm.
confidence.
Yep.
I think we see that in the rest of the movie when she attempts to use her powers. You always see her sort of hesitating a little bit. But then what's funny is when Hawkeye and Black Widow are fighting and Wanda says you're pulling your punches in that scene. What a great scene in Civil War when they all battle each other at the airport.
Yeah. I've seen so many remakes of that, like animated.
Oh yeah,
Like stop motion.
that's great. So that was from Civil War. I think that came out in 2016. Yeah, and the first movie of Phase 3 was Captain America: Civil War. You guys have anything else to add to that? That was your number 3, right?
That was our number 3.
So our number 3, we kind of already talked about.
It's my idea.
It was Jacob's idea, and that's Agent Carter, Peggy.
Oh, yeah.
But to go along with that, go ahead.
The most saddest part in First Avenger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that because Captain America was about to have a dance with Peggy.
They were going to go out on a date, right?
And then he had to go save the world and everything.
I hate when that happens, when I'm going to have a date and then my date has to go save the world.
And then so when he gets to Earth, like 70 years later, he was looking around and he goes, I had a date. And he was so concerned about that. And that almost made me tear up, that scene.
Yeah, it's a powerful loss for Cap. And then he loses her kind of again in the future.
Like,
when he's
actually losing her.
Yep, when he's thawed out. And then we see him at her funeral. I think you guys mentioned this already. He was a pallbearer, right, for her funeral.
What I think would be a great thing to happen in Endgame, is if Cap doesn't die, but since there's time travel, he goes back in time and finishes that date with her.
That'd be cool.
Jacob, I'm gonna cry if
He's
they get to dance. I'm really tearing up. That's that. Oh, we made 2 romantic guys. Like I remember when Jackson watched the Monica and Chandler engagement scene. Yes. You were there. Yeah. All right, that's a good one. I've got tears in my eyes now.
So I'm
going to actually be really disappointed, Jacob, now. Like, I'm walking into this movie tonight expecting Cap to, finish his date and his dance. And if it doesn't happen, you've ruined the entire movie for me, just so you know.
There should be time for it. I hear it's like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Jackson wasn't listening. Captain America and Peggy. If he's able to go back and do some sort of time travel and finish his date.
Finish his dance.
Yeah, his
dance. It's almost 1,000% confirmed that there's time travel.
Yeah.
There's leaked set photos of them with quantum tech, and they almost look like clocks on their wrists.
So, real quick, honorable mention for us was Cap dying as a loss for Peggy and for other members of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything.
Oh, right.
Howard, when he died at the end of the first Avenger, Captain America, the first Avenger.
Right. Good point.
And then cue how Red Skull who was it? Someone found the Space Stone in the ocean, not with Cap though, which I don't understand. I feel like they would have found him because they were on the same ship.
Well, maybe it just sort of exploded.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have a number 2?
We are number 2. Jackson, did you want to say number 2? You were motioning to me.
You did. I want to do the last one.
Oh, the last one.
You do that one.
So that's the one we're on right now, the one you want to do.
No, so switch around.
Okay, so then we have already done our number 2.
Which
was Yondu.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Our turn again?
Yep, your turn. You're number 2.
So,
yay.
do you want to do the rest of our honorable mentions real quick, and then we'll do our number 2?
Yeah, so number 3 of our honorable mentions is Bruce's girlfriend from the Hulk movie.
I thought about that. Yeah.
We don't.
But that was the other Bruce.
I don't really remember her name.
We don't talk about that. That's still the second movie in the MCU. First movie was Iron Man 2008.
Then the Hulk with Edward Norton.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that movie, though. Great movie. We see Abomination. It's a great movie. But that's the last time we see Bruce and... What's her name?
I don't know.
Liv Tyler.
Oh, my goodness.
It's Red Hulk. There's no Red Hulk in the MCU. Yeah. But yeah, it's his daughter.
We talked about that was a loss, part of the story arc for Hulk. But first time we meet Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, we are assuming we already know the backstory and we don't ever see them reconnect. And then Hulk has a connection with Black Widow.
Next is T'Chaka and his brother. We already talked about his brother how T'Chaka kills him because he left Wakanda. And does Jackson have something to say?
No, he's asking me what I'm doing.
What are you doing right now?
What are they doing? They're talking about their honorable
mentions before we do our number 2.
See, so this is just, sort of attention span for adolescents.
Yes.
They're just going to kind of weave in and out. Just
right.
totally developmentally appropriate out there, folks.
T'Chaka, during his speech, getting blown up. And I see that as a very, how Mufasa dies. Because
I definitely see connections there, too.
T'Challa doesn't believe it, then he just lies there with him. We talked about that in episode 5. And that basically sets one of the biggest plots in Civil War. How they think Bucky killed him, but they didn't, and it was actually Zemo. That's pretty big. And then the other ones are Quill's mom.
We talked about the other ones already.
Yeah. Quill's mom, Cap dying.
Yep. We're Cap's Shield, Mjolnir. So we got it. We did our honorable mention. So our number 2, this is the only dust death we have on our list because we don't really know if this was permanent. We're hoping these deaths aren't permanent, obviously, because Far From Home is coming out. But the most powerful death from the snap in Infinity War was
Peter Parker.
And yeah, that was really sad.
Because he has a spidey sense, and he knew he was dying.
Right, but I also think he's the youngest. He's the most childlike of all of them. So
he is a child.
He is a child, and so he didn't understand what was going on.
Right.
And the Russo's brothers, the directors of the movie, they knew that he was very loved, so they made his death very longer. Because Quill, for instance, he was just gone like that, but Spider-Man, it took, he had full 3 minute death.
I wonder if part of that too is because he's younger, and there's this younger people are not supposed to die. Those deaths are harder for us in general.
So it's such a sweet moment between Stark and Peter. Where were they? They were on Thanos' planet.
Yeah.
Titan.
And he said, "I don't feel so good."
Yeah.
And he was scared, and it was so sweet and so.
It was
sad
another
to
kind
see
of
him
father-son moment, just in the reverse of Peter and Yondu.
Yes, absolutely, right? Peter Quill. So Peter Parker in Infinity War.
That's your number 2?
2018.
Yep.
Okay.
Number 2.
All right. So Jackson, we're on our number 1. Did you want to say who it is?
So this isn't really a death that happened in the MCU, but we put Stanley.
So I'm gonna translate that. This isn't a death from the MCU, but we put fine. Stanley.
I could hear him. Our number 1 is also Stanley.
Well, I have to be honest. Jackson saw that you had Stanley on your list. He was really our number 2.
No, I didn't. I saw that they had Yondu on this.
Oh, okay. All right.
When we wrote this, I said that they probably have Stanley.
Yeah, we were thinking that Stanley was going to be on your list too, because you're right. He's not a character in the MCU, but he sort of is, right?
Kind of is,
he is. He's in all of the movies, and the opening of the movie we saw last. What was the last movie?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Right. The whole opening was a tribute to him. So
amazing.
I sobbed in the movie theater.
So did I. Well, I sobbed. Oh my God. We're going to talk about the Captain Marvel cameo, which they must have refilmed after he died. Do you know that they did or not?
I don't.
We're talking about spoiler. Well, this whole thing is spoilers, but
the actor of Captain Marvel gave him a smirk.
That's what I'm talking about. Right. Yeah. So we see he's a passenger in a bus or a train.
Right. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Captain Marvel's walking down the aisle, sees him, and winks at him, gives him a smirk. Yeah. So sweet.
There's a theory that Stanley is an MCU character, and all his cameos just one person, and I forget what they're called, but they're a different species, and they watch over different planets, and people are thinking maybe Stanley watches over Earth, right?
Oh,
that's interesting.
Interesting. I kind of like that. I hadn't heard that before. But it's his death, his actual death, was grieved and mourned for real. And actually, as I was sort of doing research or cheating and looking up deaths in the MCU to refresh me over what I could pull from. Of course, I was going to do research. But these are mine. That was just to sort of awaken that part of my brain that saw these movies. Right. There was so many people on social media that were sort of publicly mourning and grieving the loss of Stan Lee. And so it really was it's a real loss. But we also did sort of see it weave its way into the most recent film, with the whole entire opening being a dedication to him. And you're right. I didn't even really notice that. That smirk. Yeah.
Such a sweet moment.
Like little extra, because usually his cameos, you know, if there's nothing extra about them, maybe there's an extra beat of that face on the screen, but there's no extra sort of reaction from any of the other characters.
Yeah, he's not really acknowledged all that often.
Yeah, there's no acknowledgement. But this one, there definitely was that acknowledgement. And so you're right. Maybe that was a sort of after, an after effect there, but very much a real loss, right? So there's attachment. So people are attached to these stories, to this universe, to the MCU, to the characters, to their stories, to their sort of quests and their troubles. And Stan Lee is the creator of those. So there's this attachment then to Stan Lee. And so it's a real sadness, a real grief. And people in my research were, criticizing that, you know, that people didn't really know him. So how can they really genuinely be sad? But I would argue you can genuinely be sad.
Absolutely.
If you're someone for whom your life is not centered around, but for some people centered around, but the MCU characters in Marvel, that's a big part of your life, then the loss of Stan Lee is going to be a big loss for you too.
Right. He's such an iconic figure in pop culture and in movies and the media. He was the creator of this universe, in conjunction with Jack Kirby, right, Jacob?
Mm-hmm. And they both had their own characters in the MCU too.
But did they create
the MCU? Sorry, the comic books. Yeah.
Right. So, such a powerful loss felt by not just comic book fans, comic book movie fans. We'll miss Stan Lee a lot, but the whole world sort of exploded in grief and remembrance and trying to memorialize him in any way. And I don't know this, firsthand, but rumor has it that Stan Lee was really, really, really amazing to fans. Whenever people would meet him, he'd go out of his way to shake hands, take pictures, and all that stuff. Really, really loved his fans. I saw a sweet video of him touring a special effects or a practical effects factory. Did you see that?
Yeah, is it the Iron Man one?
Where he watched Iron Man helmet get created.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a great movie, or a great little video of him meeting all those folks and being really, truly appreciative of the work they were doing to bring his characters to life, creating the costumes and practical effects of the movie. So it was really, really sweet video. Such naturally the number one death. And when we talk about deaths in the MCU, right?
Is this our goal for when we do these top 10 lists to arrive at the same number one?
Maybe.
We synced up on those. That was fun. Well, Jackson, awesome. we did lose Jackson. But he was with us for
He's coming back.
He just stepped out into the larger living room there.
He just needs to move around a little bit.
No, but so I think we all made it through our top 10. You included your honorable mention. Yep. So the point here was to, as people right now are, preparing to go see Endgame, and everyone's kind of talking about and thinking about Marvel, the MCU, to also sort of remind people that this is very similar to Disney, right? There's death, there's grief in the Marvel Cinematic University. Good grief. Universe. That's my college teacher coming out. Universe. And that creates opportunities for us as families, as friends, to have conversations around real things, around death, around grief, and to learn from these and to be able to have things to kind of lean into to explore the topics of grief and death. So thank you to all three of you for participating in this conversation today. Actually, all of my boys participated today. Even our only boy animal, Everett was here the entire time. He was, hi, good morning. He's waking up now because he heard his name. But thank you for being here. Anyone have anything to add?
I want to add real quick. Part of what makes the MCU so good at what they do is character development, relationship stories. When they have deaths or losses, the characters feel them hard. It informs their development, and we feel them hard as fans.
Yeah, and it's a real kind of authentic depiction of it. These stories might be out there, but the sort of relationship components and the loss components, those are based in reality.
Right.
Those are real feelings, real reactions, and they're authentic.
Can I just throw in a fun fact right now?
Always.
So, think of, say, Captain America, per se, in the MCU, and try to think of anybody else, any actor playing him besides Chris Evans.
Yeah, no.
See? Yeah. And did you know Tom Cruise was actually going to play Iron Man?
I don't think I would like the MCU if he was.
I did know that, I think.
Yeah, did you?
No offense, Tom Cruise, but... Yeah.
Great. Do you have anything else to add, Jackson?
No.
Are you excited about Endgame tonight? Yes.
Are you excited that you were on our podcast? This was your inaugural podcast with us.
Welcome to Changing Perspectives,
Welcome to
Jackson.
Changing Perspectives. Thank you for being part of it.
Lean into it.
Thanks, weirdos, he says. Lean into it, Jackson. Thank you for leaning into it with us today.
Jacob, can we leave everybody with one of our favorite quotes ever? Can you do it with me? It's not.
I got you.
It's not on the screen, but I was trying to find it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Is this your baseball quote that you
Dr.
guys...
Banner.
Oh.
Might be a good time to suit up.
That's my secret crap. I'm always angry.
Did you say crap?
You
did.
You said Dr. Banner tried to suit up.
I think that
It's now would be a good time to get angry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Wait.
I messed up the whole thing.
You did, because isn't this a tender thing that you used to say to him at the plate?
Yes. So hold on. Let's recap for a second, because Iron Man's Tony says, "Tell him to suit good. He's here, just like you said he would be. Good. Tell him to suit up." And Cap says, "Now might be a good time to get angry." And then Bruce says, "Try it again."
Shut up. You messed it up.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry.
Best line in the entire MCU. And then we see Bruce turn into the Hulk and smash a big alien worm.
Jackson disagrees. He doesn't think that's the best line.
Okay,
so
then
what's
tell
the
us
best
what it is.
line?
What's the best line?
Not that, he
Not
says.
that.
All right, so
Okay.
Jackson's homework assignment is to figure out what the best line is. And folks out there can also tell us what they think the best line from the MCU is. I don't remember these things, so I would have to go with "I'm Mary Poppins," y'all.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So if you would like to participate in this discussion, you can get us on Facebook and let us know what the most powerful death is to you in the MCU, what your favorite MCU movie is, and what your favorite line is.
Yeah, I would say go to Instagram, go to our Instagram page, because there will be a specific post today about this.
Exactly. All right, everybody. That is going to do it for today. Thank you.
Last minute here.
Oh,
is it appropriate?
He needs the mic.
If we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
Yes.
Okay.
Tony Stark. Very good.
Okay.
Excellent. Good one, Jackson. Good
I
way
think
to end
that's a
it.
pretty comprehensive one.
Okay.
That's a comprehensive one.
Before we end the podcast, I'm sure everybody has been Good Jackson.
That is going to do it for today, I promise. Thank you so much for listening. You can learn more on this by watching the MCU movies. Start at the beginning if you've never done that, if you live in a cave. Follow us on Facebook at Changing Perspectives Podcast, on Instagram at Changing Perspective Blog. Please check out our website by going to changingperspectivesblog.com or send us an email to changingpodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode, and we will see you next time. Say bye, Jenni.
Bye, Jenni.
The Changing Perspectives podcast is produced, recorded, and edited by Dizzy Bird Studios, Whitman, Massachusetts. Visit Dizzy Bird Studios on Facebook, facebook.com/DizzyBirdStudios.
We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. My name is Taylor Eland, and I host a show called Just Think, where I look into philosophy, theology, and other scientific ologies to figure out the underlying workings of an argument. If you would like to learn something new every week while getting both sides of a theory, go ahead and check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, and Google Podcasts, along with various other networks on Sundays.